target. Levy gets a double kill. In trouble. Is that one? Oh, just gets surged on. Yankos gets stunned. Mouse going for the 1v2.
They have to play really cautiously and carefully. Goes back into the base dive. Oh,
The
Smack
minion.
play with fire.
¡Buen día, Barcelona! Benvinguts, bienvenidos al All-Star de League of Legends 2016. Hemos reunido a 30 de vuestros jugadores favoritos. Durante los próximos 4 días lucharán codo con codo para defender a sus regiones y demostrar quiénes son los mejores. Han llegado para incendiar la grieta del invocador, el equipo de All Stars compuesto por la LCK de Corea, la LCS de Norteamérica y la GPL del sudeste asiático. ¡Un fuerte aplauso para el equipo! ¡Fuego! Dispuestos a congelar a cualquiera que se ponga por delante, representando al equipo hielo, los All Stars de la LPL China, la LMS y la LCS europea. ¡Ruido para el equipo hielo!
Down.
16. ¡Que comience la batalla!
There they are, our all-stars from Fire and Ice. What a fantastic performance and what a fantastic introduction for the players by Ibai. Bienvenido todo el mundo a Barcelona. Welcome everybody to Barcelona. Around the world, you answered the call. And now 30 of your favorite players have descended on Spain. Over the next 4 days, they will battle it out on Summoner's Rift and Howling Abyss to determine which all-stars will rise above the rest as we get some sights of the beautiful city we are in, Barcelona, and the players have been preparing in. It is truly a wonderful city and a wonderful venue here at the Palau Sant Jordi. Good evening. I'm Eefje Schok, joined on the analyst desk by James Stress O'Leary and Joshua Jat Leesman. Quite the intro there for the player.
Ooh, you know, a great, exciting, fun intro, and it's going to be a fun week. This is the point of the year. Worlds is done. We're at the end of the season, so let's create some mayhem.
Yeah, one way to make an entrance is just shooting fire into the stadium, and you can feel the heat of it all the way up here. I'm just looking forward to seeing the best players play on this patch for the first time, right? Like, we've seen IWCA, we've seen people in solo queue, but I don't think we've ever seen players at this level play on this patch yet, so that's what I'm excited for.
Definitely so much to see, and we'll be covering everything from here, but we are not alone in that here in St. Jordi. Our international broadcast partners are also helping us out to bring the tournament around the globe in over 15 languages. There you see some of our colleagues from the LVP, and of course, as always, the team from Korea's OGN, bringing you all the action as well. Now, after a year full of amazing League of Legends moments, we have gathered here to celebrate. Superstars from 6 regions have been divided into 2 teams, Team Fire and Team Ice. First up in Team Fire, we have North American LCS, Korea's LCK, and Southeast Asia's GPL, specifically the Vietnamese All-Stars. And then in Team Ice, the European LCS, the League of Legends Master Series, and China's LPL. What are we thinking of the division here of teams? Is Fire notably stronger? Is it Ice?
Rather convenient. The North American LCS got placed with the LCK again, try to defend the Team Fire championship from last year. I like the chances of Team Fire if I'm just looking at that, because I feel like the NA All-Star team, just the players that got voted in, are actually pretty strong. But you never know with NA's chances coming to these international events, right?
Yeah, oh, there we go. I have a quote from Mithy, actually, who said when he was taking a look at the teams, we're playing versus the NALCS. That is the LCK and European imports, but you call it NALCS? Fine.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's some pretty stacked lineups, but there's a lot of game modes and a lot to get before we determine a winner. And the winner of All-Star this year is going to be determined by who gets 1,000 points first. There are a total of 1,950 up for grabs, and they're going to be split all across the game modes.
Yeah, so obviously there's a different point system for each game. The regional games that are the normal Summoner's Rift games are worth 100 points. The 1v1 actually has a pretty hefty amount of points as well that could actually all go to one team. If, say, Team Fire, Team Ice dominated the 1v1, 250 for first place, all the way down to 50 points for third or fourth.
Yeah, those 1v1s super important. As we were kind of talking about, you know, if one team gets all of those points, it's 500 points. It's up for grabs then.
Exactly.
You know, we've seen that happen before, where, you know, last year it was Double F, Bjergsen, they took the majority of the points, and, you know, it made for a pretty tough uphill battle. For
and at IWCA last year, Kira won the whole thing and took his team with him to All-Star. So
and walking past some of the player rooms, these guys are actually, like, all of them were just practicing 1v1. So I feel like it's one place where the players kind of actually want to do well.
Well, I guess it's also because it's harder to build synergy for all these 5 players together, but what if they all get a great 1v1 strat and take that? Then you're taking a big part of the cake, right?
Everyone always seems to have their favorite 1v1 strat, and you're right, but the problem is because there's bans, it gets figured out after a little while, and sometimes you just ban it away. So there's so much. We're getting to that later in the day. I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of other game modes. My personal favorite is Tandem mode. All of these are worth 50 points for the winner, and Tandem mode is, of course, the one where there's 2 players. One has a keyboard, the other has the mouse. Kachuni from last year, who can forget that one, but very exciting.
Oh man, Tandem mode. There's also Assassin and Marksman modes where players have to choose from a restricted champion pool. Basically, in the search bar, you type in Marksman for Marksman mode and Assassin for Assassin mode, and those are the only champions you can play. Also, you have to build only offensive items in those modes.
Yeah, no tanks in either of those modes, thankfully, but we might see a couple of tanks in One for All. One of the fun modes we had from IWCA, we had a lot of Zags coming out, we had some Javans come through as well. So that's the mode where everybody votes on their team for a champion to play. All 5 members of that team are going to have that locked in. That gave us last year 10 Blitzcranks. I wonder whether we'll see anything like that again. It's always
Jarvan
fun.
versus Yasuo again.
Yeah.
Like, that was actually a really great thing if people were watching. IWCA, or just go back and watch the 1-for-all between Yasuo and Jarvan. Like, there's some really fun combinations you can see, especially when you have really good players playing that wacky game.
Brazil versus Oceania, 5 Zax with a ZZ Rot portal.
That was
fantastic.
So funny and at the same time so frustrating, because we were talking to the Oceanic team and they said, oh, we'll just, escape. No one can catch Ezreal. 3 Zax come flying in. They suddenly hit. Yeah, when there's 3 of them all ulting as well. Craziness. I hope somebody's got something new as well that we're going to get
We'll
to
see, but it is something we can see come out as we are here on patch 6.23 for the All-Stars Madness. That is preseason +1, and in IWCA we said, okay, Assassins, all these reworks, everything's gonna come out, and it was tanks.
Surely with so many champions changed, we were looking at it, Assassins were gonna be the name of the game on preseason, as you alluded to. A lot of people talking about the strength of Talon. We didn't see any of that. LeBlanc got banned, but it's all about the mastery changes, Jet. I mean, it makes tanks so strong.
I feel like Courage of the Colossus just kind of snuck in under the radar with all these assassin changes and just kind of dominated the top lane meta, but in all honesty, the 6.23 patch here, there's a lot of stuff that's really OP, and I want to see how much of it gets exploited by these top players and how much of it is undiscovered or doesn't necessarily work on the pro game. Like Shyvana, for instance, if you're thinking in solo queue, crazy amazing jungler, but with the really good players, Lee Sin probably better than that, Ivern probably better than that. Like, there's so many things that I want to see if can kind of overtake the meta we saw at Worlds, and then we'll see you in the fun games here.
And as you alluded to from IWCA, that's teams that were kind of thrown together from their own regions as well. So now I want to see if, the likes of Korea's players are going to bring something that they've been playing that nobody else has really seen. One thing's kind of for certain, Nautilus, such a high priority in the top lane right now because of how stupidly broken with his W as well. Gets 53% of his max health as a shield. It's crazy. You just cannot kill him.
Unkillable. Yeah. We'll see what happens. And of course, as you say, pro players, so they're definitely at a highest level, but they haven't had that much time to work together, so maybe they go for something that is better to execute. I know in the Assassins modes, for instance, you can pick Nocturne and Pantheon, and we saw that in the IWCA as well, coming out of GPL, using that as a strategy, so it'll be interesting to see if they go strategy crafted or just have fun and, rely on their own prowess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of these players are going to be playing mostly to show off, and the really in-depth strategy isn't going to be there. And I think that's totally okay. I was talking to Doublelift on the way in. He hadn't necessarily researched like, oh, these are the best things for Assassin mode, and he hadn't gotten out his theory crafting. But he says he has been playing probably more than a lot of these other guys, because we have to remember we're pretty much in the off-season everywhere in the world. So the question is, how fresh will these guys be? Who has figured out the game the most at this point? And honestly, who's just going to have the most fun?
Well, to that, we also saw yesterday EU was sightseeing a bit and going around the city. And then on the other hand, Bjergsen tweeted that they were practicing really hard. So team bonding, it is just as important as anything else.
It's what we've learned. IWCA, we saw the SEA team. They've now played 2 tournaments. They're here for their 3rd as a team. I still think it's an uphill battle for them, but it's certainly, that team synergy might go a little bit of the way to help.
All right, let's take a look at the schedule then, because we have a lot on our plate starting today. First up, the Battle of the Atlantic between the NALCS All-Stars and the Hopetown European LCS team. Then we have Marksman mode, Fire versus Ice, that is a mixed-up team. And then later we will kick off our first 7 matches in the 1v1 tournament. Closing out the day, the Korean All-Star squad will take on the representatives from the LMS. We are all the way at the beginning. I'm not going to ask for a Fire versus Ice prediction yet, but I will ask for the first match, which is the European All-Stars taking on the NA All-Stars. Give me your quick predictions.
Well, one thing I'll say is this will decide once and for all who the best region is with North American River, as it always does.
We can close the books on it.
No, I mean, based on the votes, I feel like EU voted a lot for like the classic popularity. We have a couple people in there that were in the promotion tournament, whereas NA, I feel like, voted more of the true All-Star team. So I think those guys are pretty heavily favored.
I unfortunately don't disagree on too much of that at all. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Peke in mid lane. I'm not doubting him at all, but when you compare him to the NA lineup where you're like, okay, all-star, top tier, all-star, every single role, it's tough for us, but I think we can still do it.
In NA's favor, I would say. I think
They've been in our favor
They
before.
are the favorite.
That does not make me very confident.
Well, we'll see. But before we send it over to our fairly balanced, not at all biased casting crew, Doublelift tells us what the NA versus EU rivalry means to him.
I've been to All-Stars 4 times, and all 4 times NA versus EU is like the most hype and the most like talked about match, because there's always like the NA greater than EU greater than NA like meme, and All-Stars is just like a really hilarious way to show it. Especially like, I guess I have a history with it because my first time I was playing All-Stars, it was the very first one, and I got a penta against EU, which felt like really good, and ever since then, it's just been like a pretty big grudge match. NA players always like trash talk EU players and the other way around, so I really want to smash them.
We'll find out if Doublelift can smash the European All-Stars or whether he will get smashed.